Okay, you guys, our final example problem where we're going to use the square root property. Now, if you feel like you're understanding how to do this, I encourage you to try example 12 on your own. I will say, though, you will end up with a square root with a fraction. Okay, so you'll end up with a fraction underneath the square root. So just don't forget those properties of the quotient property of square roots where you have a fraction underneath the square root. So if you want to try it, just don't forget about that property. Otherwise, just watch what I do. Okay, so again, I am missing the x to the first term. I do not have it. Okay, so that is telling me it's okay to just solve for x. Okay, which I don't even have to make one side 0. Okay, because eventually I want to get x squared, or in this case x. I want to get rid of the x squared, but I want to get x on one side by itself. So I don't need to make this side 0 because I'm trying to solve for x. Okay, so currently what's getting in the way is this 4, okay, which the 4 is secretly multiplying to the x squared, so the way you move it to the other side is by dividing that thing on both sides. Okay, which 4 divided by 4 will cancel and turn to 1, and then 25 cannot divide by 4, and I can't reduce that down. Okay, so this will be x squared equals negative 25 over 4. Okay, now, the last thing that's getting in the way of me solving for x is this sneaky little squared. Okay, so I need to get rid of the x squared. What is the opposite of a square? That would be a square root. So I'm going to square root that thing on both sides, like that. Okay, which the square root will cancel out the squared. So I'm left with x equals, I'm just going to write it this way now, x equals, don't forget what will appear on one side of your equation when you square root both sides of the equation. Holy hot dog, you guys, that would be a plus or minus. Okay, and then I'm left with the square root of negative 25 over 4. Okay, now first of all, I want to transform that negative 25 over 4 into a positive. What will hop outside of my square root to transform that number into a positive? Exactly, you guys, an I is going to hop out. So we're going to have x equals plus or minus I root 25 over 4. Okay, so I can't reduce down this fraction, but I do notice that I can square root the numerator and denominator. Okay, so don't forget, this is the same thing. Hold on. I shouldn't have done that. Okay. It's not wrong to write it that way, but I want to keep writing it with x equals. So I'm going to write it like this. X equals plus or minus I, and then I'm going to square root the numerator and the denominator. So I'm going to square root the 25 and the 4. Okay, so now I'm going to shift down. Sorry, guys, I know I'm kind of going on a little journey right now, but it'll be okay. Okay, so I'm going to have x equals, so I'm going to write down here and kind of work that way again. Sorry. But anyway, so I'm going to have x equals plus or minus. Okay, so the square root of 25, the square root of 25 is 5, and the square root of 4 is 2. Okay, now, there's two ways you can write this answer. Okay, I is secretly over a 1, right? So when you multiply two fractions, you go across. So it's kind of like I times the square root of 25 and 1 times the square root of 4, which the square root of 25 is 5, so it's like 5 times I, which is 5I, over 1, you go straight across, 1 times the square root of 4, well, the square root of 4 is 2, so 1 times 2 is 2. So you could write it that way, you guys, or you could also write it like this. X equals plus or minus 5 halves I. Like that. Okay, so I know that's kind of sloppy, sorry. Okay, so plus or minus 5 halves and then I. So these two mean the same thing. You can write I in the numerator or you can write the fraction beside the I. So 5 halves I. Okay, so my final answer, you guys, and I know this is like all over the place. I should have organized this better. The demon cats got me. Sorry, guys. So for my final answer, I'm going to say x equals positive 5 halves I, or x will equal negative 5 halves I. Okay, and don't forget, you guys, you can also write it like this. So you could have said x equals positive 5i over 2, or x equals negative 5i over 2. Okay, you can write it either way. I chose to write it this way, but it's up to you. Okay, nice job, you guys. Me, wow.